Good morning, students, and welcome you all to yet another session of Blissful Literati where we will talk about phrases. Now, phrases, as you know, are really an important part of sentence. Sentences are a group of words which, when come together to mean something complete, gives a complete sense. Now, sentences are made up of basically, broadly speaking, two parts. Well, actually, there is only one part, clause, but sometimes they also contain another part which is known as phrases. Now, these phrases they give us some extra information about anything at all. Can be a noun, can be an adjective or adverb even. They can also tell us something about verbs. Think of phrasal verbs. They can tell us something about a preposition, for example, prepositional phrases, as well as conjunctions and interjections, but we will leave those aside. For today's session, we will talk about basically three phrases: noun, adjective, and adverb phrases. So, without any further introduction, let's straight away jump right into the chapter phrase. First of all, the definition. Now, just now I told you a sentence is made up of two parts. One part basically, which is clause, and sometimes it may have other parts, which is a phrase. Now, as you can understand, what is the basic difference? The first question that we need to ask ourselves is what is the basic difference between this phrase and clause? Because our answer to this question will lead us to further understand the chapter well. You see, clauses are that part of a sentence which contains a subject and a finite verb. It can even have an object, and it always means something complete. Now, yes, you will say that there are dependent clauses where they depend on the other part of the sentence, the principal clause, for the completion of their meaning, but they do mean something, and at least principal clauses, they mean something complete. Phrases, on the other hand, they don't have their complete meaning, they do have a sense. Right now, right here, I am differentiating between two things: meaning and sense. A complete meaning, what I want to convey, what I want to tell you, that can only be contained within a clause. But you can get a sense of what I'm trying to say, so as to say, in phrases. So, phrases are a group of words that comes together to form a single grammatical unit without a subject or a finite verb are called phrases. So here lies the basic difference with clauses. Clauses, there is subject and finite verb, object as well, while phrases, they don't have a subject or finite verb. And so you can understand why they don't have a complete meaning of their own and why they depend on the clause or the sentence they are in for the completion of their senses. Now, the features. We have already discussed the various features of a phrase. Now, let's have a look at them. As you can see, there will be no subject at all, no finite verb as well, and therefore no complete meaning. As you can understand, verb is the most important part of any sentence. Time, that is tense, aspect, all these things, your action, they have no meaning. They are invisible, they are uninformed to you if you don't use any verb. If you don't use verb tense, you will not know when you did something in the past, or right now you're doing something, or you will do something in the future. If you don't use verb tense, that will remain incomplete. Similarly, what have you done? If you don't say words like sing, play, read, write, jump, eat, walk, sleep, we will never know what you are up to. So you see, verbs are the most important part of a sentence. And in phrases, there are no finite verbs. By the way, finite verbs are the verbs which comes with some limit. That is present tense, past tense, singular number, plural number. All these things limit verbs, make it finite. So finite verbs are those verbs which are limited by these aspects, time and number, namely. On the other hand, infinite verbs are those which are not limited by any such aspects. So a phrase may contain infinite or non-finite verbs, but it will never contain any finite verb. Then there is no complete meaning, obviously, and they are usually part of a clause or a sentence. As you can see or understand, a clause itself can act as a complete sentence. Now let's talk about some examples. 4 hostile newspapers are more dangerous than 1,000 bayonets. Now you see, what is or what are more dangerous than 1,000 bayonets? The answer could have been newspapers. Newspapers are more dangerous than 1,000 bayonets, and the meaning would have been completed. But what we have done, we have added something before newspapers. 4 hostile, one adjective, another is also another adjective. So newspapers is modified by 2 adjectives, one number and one nature, quality. 4 number, hostile, quality. Newspapers. So 4 hostile newspapers, they all together form a phrase. And since they play the role of a noun, they give us what are more dangerous. They give us the subject of this sentence. They act together, they act as a noun phrase. Similarly, an army marches on its stomach. An army marches on its stomach. So again, see, on its stomach, it gives us some extra information. So therefore, its stomach in this case is a phrase. And so is in the sentence, England is a nation of shopkeepers. Of shopkeepers. Another descriptive word, the main word is shopkeepers. Along with it, a preposition is there, of. So this group, its stomach, of shopkeepers, 4 hostile newspapers, they are all phrases. Now moving on to the various types of phrases. Phrases are of basically 5 types. Well, let me correct here myself. Phrases can be of many types, but according to different grammarians, different rule books, different books or websites, as you're searching, they can vary from place to place. Here we will discuss about 5 traditional types of phrases. For example, the noun phrase, the adjective phrase, adverbial phrase, prepositional phrase, and verbal phrase. So these are the 5 traditional types of phrases. Now, various sources will tell you that there are absolute phrases, there are conjunctional phrases, there are interjectional phrases, participial phrases, and so on and so forth. But as I said, these are the traditional phrases. And of all these 5 types, in this particular session, we are going to talk about only the noun phrase, the adjective phrase, and adverbial phrase. Now, phrases are really easy, not so difficult to understand. And as you can see, the titles, the names, the headings, if you may, noun phrase, adjective phrase, adverbial phrase, and even prepositional or verbal phrase, they are all self-explanatory. You can easily understand what their role is in a sentence just by the name of them. So, without wasting time, let's come to noun phrase. Noun phrase can be a singular noun also. A singular noun or pronoun can act as a noun phrase. But since by definition phrase is usually taken as a group of words, we will improvise the single word noun or pronoun in a different manner. We will use some modifiers, pre-modifiers and post-modifiers. These are the 2 terms which we need to understand. See, modifiers, as their name suggests, they modify a particular noun. Pre-modifiers are the modifying words which come before the actual noun. Houses can be 2 houses, a lot of houses, so a lot of. 2. These are words which come before the noun houses. So these are pre-modifiers. Similarly, several words can come just after the noun, making them post-modifiers. Modifiers are also known as dependents because for the completion of their meaning, they are dependent on the noun in question. Therefore, this particular noun in a phrase becomes the head word or the main word. The entire phrase is woven around this particular noun, and that is why this noun is called head word. Let's have a definition. When a group of words gathers together around a central noun or pronoun, this central noun or pronoun, by the way, is the head word. And the group of words which gathers together, that group of words, they are called the modifiers or the dependents. So they come together and collectively act as a single noun unit. That group is called a noun phrase. So basically, noun phrase, they act as a noun. They simply give us the subject or object in any sentence. So it is very easy to understand. You simply question the verb in a sentence with what, who, whom in case of an object, and whatever answer you get, that is the noun phrase. The only catch here is that you have to be very careful to notice whether in that answer there is a finite verb or not. Because if there is a finite verb, that will no longer remain a phrase but will become a clause. So remember, when you are asking a verb with what, who, or whom to get the noun phrase, always remember to check for the presence or absence of finite verbs. Let's have some examples to make this thing clear. To write well requires practice. Now the question is, what requires practice? The answer is to write well. So you can see the verb in this sentence is requires. Now we are questioning the verb with what? What requires practice? The answer is to write well. Now you can say that even in the answer there is write, a verb. But I will point this thing out to you that write is preceded by to, to, and you really, everybody know, right, what this means, this to. Yes, this means infinitive. The presence of to makes the verb write non-finite verb. To write well therefore becomes a phrase, namely noun phrase. Similarly, his going home is uncertain. We will question the verb is. What is uncertain? The answer is his going home. Again, you may say that going, a verb is present there. And again, I am going to point out, though you already know, going is not in its finite form. It is in its non-finite form, participle form. So therefore, it is again a noun phrase. He likes to play tennis. He likes what? To play tennis. The only thing to note here is while to write well, his going home, these were subjects. They provided us the subject of a sentence. In the final example, he likes to play tennis. To play tennis provides us the object of the verb likes. Therefore, as you can understand, noun phrases can provide us both the subject or the object of a verb. So by now you have understood really well that what you need to do when you are faced in the exam with questions like identify the phrase in the given sentence. To identify a noun phrase, just question the verb with what, who, or whom. Remember to check for the presence or absence of finite verb. Non-finites are okay. Participles okay. Gerunds okay. But remember, no finite verb should be there. To write well, going home, play tennis preceded by to. All these things, gerunds, non-finites, they all provide us the noun phrase. Now moving on to the adjective phrase. Similarly, adjective phrase, just like noun phrase, can be one single word adjective, but more often than not, usually speaking, there is this group of words. Now, What is different here? You see, in noun phrase, in noun phrase, we had a head word, one main noun, around which all the modifiers, pre-modifiers, post-modifiers, they were coming around. That is okay. But in adjective phrase, there may or may not be a definite adjective in the sentence. There may or may not be a definite adjective in the sentence, in the phrase. But when they come together, this group of words, when they come together, this group becomes one whole unit. All together, they play the role of adjective. They describe a noun. They talks about a noun in the sentence. So if you can identify the noun in the sentence and then look for the group of words which tells something about it, which gives some extra information about the noun, you will have found your adjective phrase. So the definition is when a group of words come together to collectively describe a noun or pronoun, that group is called an adjective phrase. For example, an overly sensitive heart is an unhappy position on this shaky earth. Now you see, the noun here is heart. As you can see that there is a highlighted portion, overly sensitive. Now these words, overly sensitive, they together form one whole unit and they describe the heart, the nature of the heart, the quality of the heart. Sensitive, overly sensitive. So adverb plus adjective combination which together works as an adjective describing the noun heart. So this is an example of an adjective phrase. Similarly, I am a fairly intelligent person, but I don't think my grades reflected that. Similarly, you see here also the highlighted portion, fairly intelligent. It describes person, a noun. Right? It describes a person. There's Barry Sanders. But fairly is an adverb and intelligent is an adjective. When they together comes, they represent one adjective phrase. They describe the person which is a noun. So they together come as an adjective phrase and well, there you have it. Finally, another example, I am awfully sorry for your loss. Now you see in this sentence, I am awfully sorry for your loss. What am I? Now awfully sorry for your loss or simply awfully sorry, if you just take that also, awfully sorry. That describes my state, the quality of my mental state. So therefore, this part is an adjective phrase. Either you take the whole thing, I am awfully sorry for your loss, or you can simply take awfully sorry. But whatever you take, it will still mean the same thing. This entire phrase describes the pronoun I, and hence it is an adjective phrase. Now, in all these sentences, in all these examples, you can find that there is the adjectives sensitive, intelligent, sorry, all written in bold letters. And there is a whole lot of other words which are underlined. Now, these underlined sections, they are the part of an adjective phrase, but they have no meaning of their own without or in absence of the main adjective. Remove the adjective and overly, fairly, awfully for your loss, they lose all their significance, they lose all their meaning. So these words, they are the dependents. They are the dependents of the adjectives, the main adjectives. So these adjectives, they are the head words. On the other hand, a crown made of gold. Similarly, you see a crown made of gold. Here you have no, adjective, but still it is an adjective phrase because it describes. Made of gold describes the noun crown. So as I said, they may be an adjective present in the sentence or they may not be present, but it is just as it is. They will always describe a noun. Finally, we come to the adverb phrase, but before that, let's have a look at this final thing. Look for the group of words that tells something about the noun or pronoun that we already know. What we need to do is to find out the noun, identify it, and then look for the group of words which describes it. And again, if there is no finite verb in that group of words, then it is definitely an adjective phrase. Moving on, the final section of our discussion, adverbial phrase. So when a group of words come together to describe some adverb, to play the role of an adverb, we have adverbial phrase. You see, when I say they play the role of an adverb, they are described, they give the description as an adverb. What they do is they tell us something about the time, place, manner, reason, all these things, just as an adverb. The only difference is adverb is one word, adverbial phrase, on the other hand, is a group of words, collection of words. So let's have the definition. A group of words that comes together to play the role of an adverb in a sentence by giving some extra information about time, place, manner, reason, and so on. That group is called an adverb phrase. So you can understand that adverb phrase, they play the role of an adverb. They give us time, they give us place, manner, reason. For example, you can say that we will leave later. We will leave later. Later. Now, later later is a single word which gives us some idea of time of our leaving. When we will leave. We will leave afterwards. Later. So, later is an adverb of time. But when we say we will leave in the morning or we will leave in the evening, we will leave in the afternoon, in the morning, in the evening, they give us again the time, right? But in a collection of words, they take a group of words to give us that. That group of words, it becomes an adverbial phrase. And just remember, if we say we will leave when the sun rises, when the sun rises, this rises word is a finite verb. When the sun rises. So there is a WH word when, sun a subject, and rises a finite verb. So you can understand, you can tell yourself, you can inform me that this final example, when the sun rises, is an example of adverbial clause because it has a subject and it has a what? Yes, finite verb. So remember these differences. Finite verb will definitely move the phrase to the category of the clause. Absence of finite verb or subject will move the clause to the category of phrase. Thus we come to the examples. The students dined in silence. Dined how? We are questioning the verb how. Dined how? In silence. So in silence, therefore, is an adverb and it gives us the manner. The manner of the dining. Okay. So adverbial phrase of manner. Opera is when a guy gets stabbed in the back and instead of bleeding, he sings. Now again, in the back, where does a guy get stabbed? The answer is in the back. So it tells us about the place, stabbed where. It tells us the place in the back. So again, we're questioning the verb with where and we're getting the answer in the back, and therefore we can be certain that in the back is an adverbial phrase. An adverbial phrase of place. It tells us about the place. We will escape in the morning. Again, escape when? Just see, just look at this situation. We are questioning the verb with when. When as in time. So in the morning becomes an adverbial phrase of time. Finally, we come to the example. He threw a wonderful party to impress his guests. So again, impress his guests. Why he threw a wonderful party? It is calling for reason. Therefore, this becomes again an adverbial phrase of reason. So I will tell you to look for all the WH words except who, what, whom. Reserve WH words who, what, to identify noun phrase and use all the rest of the WH words like how, where, when, why, and question the verb. Whatever answer you get, those answers will definitely lead you to the adverbial phrase. But be careful. Just check whether there is a finite verb present or not. If there is no finite verb present, then go for it. Select it as a phrase. Adverbial phrase in case of WH words how, where, when, why, or noun phrase in case of who, what, or whom. And if you get some description about the noun itself or the pronoun itself, go for the adjective phrase. And thus, dear students, we come to an end of this session. I hope you have understood the chapter phrases, at least the beginning of it, well enough to identify phrases for your exams and for any kind of grammar exercise. And with that, see you, bye bye, till we meet again with another unit in this grammar.